Okay, so industrial production manager. Maybe not the first thing that comes to mind when you're thinking about like dream careers, right?
Right.
But honestly, this is a field that is really well, it's booming and it's only going to get bigger.
It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely huge. And and we were just saying before we start, there's so much information out there.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah. It's overwhelming. It really is. And that's why we're doing this deep dive
Absolutely.
to like simplify it, bring it down. What do they do? Like what's the day-to-day like? What's the career path look like? All that good stuff.
Yeah, we're going to unpack all of that for you. And like
Mm.
you said, cut through the clutter. We did the research, so you don't have to.
Exactly. And you are like the perfect person to be talking to about this because, well, you are an industrial production manager.
I am, and I love it. So hopefully some of that enthusiasm will rub off.
Hopefully. So let's start with the basics. Like if you had to explain to someone, someone who maybe doesn't know much about manufacturing, what an industrial production manager does, what would you say?
Well, you can kind of break it down by the title. You're in a factory, you're managing, and you're focused on production.
Okay.
So making sure that everything runs smoothly, efficiently, and that we're meeting those quality and, output goals.
So it's kind of like you're the conductor of an orchestra, but instead of instruments, it's machines and people.
That's a great analogy. It
Right.
really is about bringing all these different elements together.
Wow, so you're dealing with the people, you're dealing with the machines, you're dealing with the materials.
Absolutely. And the technology. Let's not forget about the tech. That's a huge part of it.
Okay, yeah, because things have changed a lot, right? With automation and AI and all of that.
Oh, yeah. It's a whole new world out there, and that's what makes this career path so exciting, in my opinion.
Absolutely. But maybe a little daunting too. Like if you're someone who, maybe hasn't quite wrapped their head around all the tech stuff yet.
Well, sure, there's a learning curve, but the thing is, you don't have to be a tech whiz to excel in this role. It's more about being adaptable, willing to learn, and able to see how technology can be a tool to improve efficiency.
A tool in your toolbox.
Exactly.
So paint us a picture. What's the day-to-day actually look like?
Well, every day is different, which is something I love about this job. But you can expect a mix of office work and time spent on the factory floor.
So you're not just like stuck behind a desk all day.
No way. You're analyzing data, troubleshooting issues on the production line, maybe negotiating with suppliers 1 minute and then leading a team meeting the next. It's fast-paced and ever-changing.
So it sounds like you really need to be able to think on your feet and, juggle a lot of different things at once.
Multitasking is definitely a must-have skill in this role, that's for sure. And communication.
Right, because you're talking to like all sorts of different people all the time.
Exactly. Engineers, upper management, your team on the floor, suppliers, maybe even clients sometimes. You're a bit of a chameleon, adapting your communication style to each audience.
Wow. So it's not just about like knowing how stuff works, it's about understanding people too.
It's about bringing people together, building relationships, and leading a team toward a common goal.
So maybe like a diplomat on the factory floor?
I love that. A diplomat in steel-toed boots.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about what they do, what a typical day might look like, but now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the pros and cons of this career path.
Let's do it.
Because it's not all sunshine and roses, right?
Well, it can be pretty great, but yeah, there are definitely challenges.
So let's be real with people. Lay it on us. What are the perks and what are the maybe not so perky parts of this job? Okay, so let's start with the good stuff, the perks. Like, what's the earning potential look like for an industrial production manager?
Well, you're definitely not going to be living below the poverty line. It's a well-compensated field, which, is a nice perk.
Yeah.
On average, you're looking at around $95,000 a year.
Okay.
But obviously that can go way up depending on experience, location, the industry, all those factors.
Right, so there's definitely room for growth.
Absolutely. Tons of room for growth.
Yeah.
And, beyond the salary, there are a lot of intangible rewards too. Like you get to be a problem solver.
Right.
You're constantly optimizing processes, improving things, and seeing those results, like physically seeing them on the factory floor. That's really rewarding for a lot of people in this field.
So it's like tangible results that you can actually see.
Exactly. You're not just pushing paper. You're actually making a difference.
That's awesome. Okay, but you got to talk about the other side. What about the challenges? Because you mentioned it's not always easy.
Yeah, it can be pretty demanding. I mean, the hours can be long. The pressure is definitely on because if anything goes wrong in production,
It's on you.
yeah, the buck stops with you.
Right.
So you need to be able to make tough decisions, often under pressure, deal with the unexpected, It's not for the faint of heart.
So you've got to be able to think on your feet, be adaptable.
Oh, absolutely. And, always be learning. Because this industry, it's constantly evolving. New technologies pop up all the time. You have to stay ahead of the game if you want to stay competitive.
Okay, so let's talk about that. The skills and qualifications that someone would need to succeed in this role. Like, what's a typical educational path look like?
So most industrial production managers, they have at least a bachelor's degree.
Okay.
Something like industrial engineering or manufacturing engineering, something in that realm.
Okay, but what if you don't have a 4-year degree yet? Like, can you get your foot in the door with experience, maybe?
Yeah, for sure. Experience is huge in this field,
Okay.
especially if you have like supervisory or management experience. That could be super valuable.
Okay.
And certifications, those can really give you a leg up.
Okay, certifications. You mentioned those earlier. I was actually going to ask you about that. What are some of like the top certifications that someone could get to like boost their career in this area?
So many. Let's see, a really popular one is the CPIM, the Certified Production and Inventory Management.
CPIM. Okay.
Yeah, and then you've got your Lean Six Sigma. That one's becoming more and more important.
Yeah, I've heard of that one. What exactly is Lean Six Sigma? Because that sounds very, I don't know,
It sounds very jargony.
jargony.
It is a mouthful. It's all about making processes more efficient, like eliminating waste, reducing defects, all about continuous improvement.
Okay, so if you can like streamline things, make them run smoother, that's Lean Six
Yeah,
Sigma.
okay, got it.
Okay.
And then a couple of others that could be really beneficial are the PMP, that's Project Management Professional,
Okay.
and the CSCP, Certified Supply Chain Professional.
Wow. Okay, so lots of acronyms.
Lots of letters, but they can really make a difference.
Okay, so let's say you've got your education. Maybe you've got some certifications under your belt. Now you're ready to actually land the job. What does the job search process look like for this field? Like, what can people expect? Because it's tough out there, right?
It is competitive. And, technology has really changed the game.
Right.
I mean, AI is being used more and more in the hiring process. Like some companies, they're using those, what do you call them, applicant tracking systems?
ATS.
Yeah, ATS, to scan resumes. So you really got to make sure yours stands out.
Right. So it's not just about sending out a million resumes anymore.
Nope. You got to be strategic.
Okay, so how do you do that? How do you make your resume stand out to like a robot?
Well, that's
Yeah.
where things like RoleCatcher can be really helpful.
Okay.
Remember we talked about the AI CV analysis they have?
Yeah.
I mean, you can upload your resume and it'll actually give you feedback. Like it'll tell you if it's good enough to pass those ATS systems.
Why? So you're using AI to like fight AI.
Basically, it's like giving yourself a secret weapon.
Hmm.
And then, of course, once you get past the robots, you got to be ready to impress the humans.
Right. So what about the interview process? Like, what are some tips for nailing an interview for an industrial production manager position? So what, like, besides having a good resume, what else can you do to impress, once you're actually in the interview?
Well, first off, be prepared to talk about yourself. Like, really think about your skills, your experience, and how they match up with what the company's looking for.
Okay.
Because they want to know that you're not just sending out generic resumes, right?
Right.
You've actually thought about why you want this job.
Right. So do your research.
Exactly. And, be ready for those curveball questions.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Like, tell me about a time you failed. Or how do you handle conflict? Those kinds of things. They want to see how you think on your feet.
So you can't really prepare for those.
Well, you can prepare by thinking about, like, situations you've been in and how you handle them.
Right.
So that when they throw a question at you,
Yeah.
you're not, like, completely caught off guard.
Okay. Solid advice. So big picture now, what's the future looking like for industrial production managers?
The future's bright. Seriously, manufacturing is not going anywhere.
Right.
It's just changing. So, there are always going to be challenges, new technologies to learn, all of that. But if you're someone who likes to solve problems, who likes to be challenged, who's adaptable, this is a fantastic career path.
Music to my ears. This has been so helpful. I feel like we've covered so much. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, hey, this sounds like me,
Right.
head over to RoleCatcher, check out their career guides. They have a ton of resources on there that can help you take that next step.
Okay, so if you're ready to dive into the world of industrial production management, RoleCatcher is the place to go. And hey, maybe someday you'll be the expert on this show, right?
I'd love that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been awesome.
It's been fun. Thanks for having me.
And to all of our listeners out there, thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Bye.